Scaling into and out of the market when the market shifts. It's very important for you to know how to do this. Not only know how to do it, but when precisely to do it. That is what we will be talking about today. Scaling into the markets, scaling out of the markets. As we wait for people to come in, tell me if tell me if you scale into the market. Tell me if you scale out. Tell me if you have mechanisms on when and how to do this. Apparently, Instagram is having trouble starting, but we will move forward with YouTube. Technical difficulties over here on Instagram. Having trouble starting the live video. Why don't I cancel this one? So I'll cancel that. Unfortunately, looks like Instagram is not working. I'm just going to send a quick message over here for the Instagram people. Now, I see a few people popping in over here on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Type in some of the questions that you have about this. Let me know that you are able to see me and hear me okay. And I'm just going to let our friends over on the other platforms know to come over here so that way they could watch and participate as well. First time Instagram is not cooperating in this way. We might just need to move everything over to YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter. Okay, so just sent the word out on Instagram. Turn this off over here. Okay, so thank you for those of you that have stuck around. Let's dive into it. So, scaling in and out when the market shifts. There's two main questions that we need to ask ourselves. The main questions are when and how much. When should we scale in? When should we scale out? How much should we scale in? How much should we scale out? Okay, let's tackle the first question. When? I'm going to answer when, and there's going to be a few questions that you'll need to ask yourself as we go through this. My answer to when is when the right opportunity presents itself. That's when we should scale in. So that naturally leads to another question, right? What is this right opportunity? The right opportunity is going to be the opportunity that you define. However you define the opportunity, that is going to be when you should begin to scale in. So, how should you define your opportunities? Well, there's a few different ways to do it. The way that I like to do it is based on history. So when I go back in time and I look at the stocks that have historically moved the furthest, the fastest, there's certain common traits among those. William O'Neill outlined them beautifully in his book, How to Make Money in Stocks. He came up with an acronym called CAN-SLIM. I came up with an acronym myself. I call it EAGLE. I find it to be a little bit easier to remember, and it also factors in a couple of other things. So let me give you my version of eagle. Eagle, the letter E stands for earnings, sales, and or projections. In O'Neill's work, he was just looking at earnings and sales. I'm factoring in earnings or sales or projections. The reason why is because oftentimes you will find stocks that will have one of them, but not all three. If they do have all three, that is, of course, better. But if it has one of them, then that's perfectly fine. So, how much should each one of those be? I like to look for 25 to 45% on each of them. And perhaps more importantly than that, I want to see earnings and sales or the projections accelerating over time. There's ways that we could track that data. Once we have that E component, the earnings, the sales, and or the projections, we want to have a way to find out, uh, are we looking at an asymmetric, high quality, high reward to low risk kind of setup? What kinds of setups are we looking for? We're looking for asymmetric reward to risk. So where we're able to risk just a tiny little bit for the potential to make a lot. Talk about the G, the L, and the E quickly because the main thing that I want to talk about here is the how much component. So the G. G is for game changers, growth. We want to see growth in the number of funds that own a stock. The reason why we want to look at the number of funds that own a stock is because it takes the major funds of the world, major mutual funds, hedge funds, pension funds of the world, takes them several days, several weeks, uh, sometimes even several months to accumulate all the shares that they want. So if we are able to see that there's more funds piling into this thing, then it's something that can propel the stock higher. I look for leadership. I look for leadership for the stock should be leading the market higher. The stock should be a leader in its own group. And the group itself should be a leader as well. We want to see stocks in leading groups. That's how you get a lot of wind in your sales. And finally, the E, the market should be trading with the overall environment. Okay, so well, we've got the when part of it. How much should we be putting in? That's a very good question. The answer to how much, the first question that you want to ask yourself is, have you gained any traction? How is your personal performance? If you've put on trades and you have not gained traction, so you are either flatlining or you're losing, then that is a time where you should be scaling down. And the reason why is because losses work against us. Losses work exponentially against us. So if you lose, say, 5%, it's going to take you, I think it's about 5.1, 5.2% to get back to even. But if you keep on going down the ladder, you lose 10%, you lose 20%, you go down to 50%. If you lose 50%, it's going to take you 100% gain to get back to even. So because losses work exponentially against us, as if we are on a losing streak, and losing streaks happen. It's part of the game. The objective, of course, is to focus on process. But even if you were to trade 100 times in a row, and let's say that you have a 50% win rate, you should expect to have a streak of about 7 to 8 losses in that 100 trades. That it Streaks are a natural part of trading and we need to prepare for it. And that's why if we are losing, we should be scaling back. We should be trading progressively smaller. Great. So the first question again, have you gained traction? Question number two, have other opportunities that you've seen, are they gaining traction? So when you take a look at the opportunities and we just talked about earlier, how to define opportunities. If you take your definition and you see other opportunities, trades that you haven't taken, but other trades that might have been on your radar, and those are making progress, that's going to tell you something about the market environment. How is the market treating the types of opportunities that you tend to see? Are they advancing or are they not? If they are, then that would be one thing that's telling you, okay, perhaps I can start to get more involved. Perhaps I could start to put on a little bit more size. And it's not just one day of opportunities moving. You want to see them moving and gaining traction, similar to the trades in your own portfolio. And the third and final thing to let you know how much, or to help you gauge how much, is the market gaining traction? And the way that you're going to understand if the market is gaining traction is by looking at the major indexes. So it's like taking a very small perspective, right? Like you're looking at your portfolio, then you're going up to the next level, all the trades that are in your universe, then you're going up to the next level and you're taking a look at the bigger picture of the market. You want to the time for you to be sizing up and to be sizing your biggest is when everything is aligned in that one direction of moving up, where you're seeing great opportunities. Even the trades that you're not taking are making progress, and the market itself is moving higher. The time when you want to be scaling down is when you have a lot of discord in there, where things are moving in all different directions. So let me know what you think. Type into the chat and let's answer some questions here. We'll give this a moment or two since we only have YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. One of the questions that came in, or what I should say, a comment that came in this morning was on Twitter, and the person had asked, or rather stated, that they have a lot of trouble with the notion of staying out of the market. That they would chase, and let me see if I could bring up the actual comment here. Yeah, the actual comment was a good one. Yes, here it is. So I had tweeted that there's never a need to rush. The market is an infinite stream of opportunity. Be patient and let the trades come to you. This person replied, God, why can't I remember this? I tell myself this, but I don't listen. I think that that falls right into today's conversation, don't you? If you have your opportunities clearly defined, then it's very easy to figure out, is this a good opportunity or is it not? Then it becomes more of a binary type of decision, right? Yes or no. That's what we want to work towards. That's part of it. That's the logical answer. The unlogical answer, and it's really, a lot of people will talk about fear and anxiety and the emotional part of trading. If that's something that you struggle with, to type in the comments. A lot of people struggle with that part of it, and they mistakenly blame emotions as something bad, right? And something to put under control. Maybe we could pop some pills and we'll take care of emotions. Actually go in a very different direction. I think that emotions can help us dramatically if we know what's driving the emotion in the first place. Let's take the emotion of fear, right? Well, why do we get afraid? Well, there's could be a variety of reasons why we get afraid in trading. Often the common fear is that we stems from being unprepared and not knowing. Right? Well, we don't know what the outcome is going to be, and not only that, we're caught off guard, right? So if let's say that you are caught off guard the natural reaction is fear. If all the stocks on your watch list, or let's say that you don't even have a watch list. Let's just say that you happen to be out of the market. You log into Twitter and or I should say X, and all of a sudden you see a few different people posting charts saying that this stock is going up, that stock is going up. You go, you look at your charting platform, and lo and behold, everything is moving. I'm looking at some trading view charts right now, and there's a few stocks that are up 8%, 10%, some others 7%, 6%. If I'm not prepared, if I don't have anything and I don't have any kind of a plan, then I might be triggered by that. Uh-oh, I'm missing out. Let me try to really come up with a plan on the fly and then throw some money in and hope for the best. Where does that fear come from? What caused that fear? Lack of preparedness, right? A lack of perhaps not having the proper skill to get involved, or not being quite as capable as I would have wanted to have been. So what's the solution? What's the remedy? Part of the solution is being prepared. Part of the solution is having a plan. Part of the solution is thinking through uh, two, three, four, five moves ahead, coming up with ideas and plans for different scenarios. If if you were told to, let's just say that you just got your license and your driver's license, and there was an emergency in your house, and you had to drive your relative to the hospital. Could you do it? Would you be nervous? Well, you just got your license, you're capable, but you would probably be nervous because you haven't driven under those kinds of scenarios. Now, if you are a seasoned driver, let's say that you've been driving for 20 something years and something happened, you would likely still feel a level of heightened awareness, right? Like you'd still feel the emotion because it's your relative that's ill, that needs help. But you wouldn't be nervous about your ability to drive. That is a lot of what happens in the market too. Some of it might come down to your level of experience. How much experience do you have with trading, with charts, well, with planning, with everything uh, that I talk about in my own book and in different courses and programs. Part of it is an experience. Part of it might be not knowing either. It's funny. I was just thinking about something that I saw uh, Mark Cuban post earlier today. He was posting something about um, something related to people that are trying to teach others, and you shouldn't believe them. You should do everything on your own. I think the exact thing was that if somebody is trying to sell you something online, to not believe them, to run in the opposite direction, and to try to figure out everything yourself. I used to think very similarly in that way. There is some merit in that because, well, there's plenty of people that don't know what they're doing, that are just trying to sell you something, and you shouldn't listen to those kind of people. But I think that that's a little bit disingenuous, and the reason why is because one, uh, it doesn't give you enough credit to be able to decipher what is real and what is fake. Another thing too, though, perhaps the more not perhaps, but the far more important thing is that if you don't learn from others and you are just going to try to figure out everything on your own, that is a path that takes an extremely long time. That is the path that I went, and I struggled for my first 10 years. And it was only when I finally gave that part up and I got other people around me to help me that I finally made progress. So I think that what Mark was saying, it's probably going to end up hurting a lot more people than it actually does help. And so it's curious why he might have said what he said. Well, what was the motivation behind it? Anyhow, there's no questions, no other questions coming in. We will wrap it up. All right. So hopefully we have less technical issues next time. I think that we will. I appreciate you guys that were here, that listened. Hopefully it provided you value. If it did, let me know. Um, ah, Here, question comes in right at the buzzer. You guys have got to get in the questions uh, quicker, but that's okay. I'm happy to stick around and chat for an extra minute. Okay, question comes in. In your books, you mentioned about 5% portfolio risk. Did you only scale down the position size when you hit 5% portfolio risk, or do you just scale down when your last one or two trades doesn't work? It's not the last one or two, it's really the last three trades or so. When I start to see when I when I'm looking at my personal performance, when I start to fall below average, that is when I start to factor in, okay, it's time for me uh, to start to scale back. So for me, my personal performance on average is about 50%. I will win about half the time and I will lose about half the time. So if I'm going to be on a streak and I start to see that I'm winning six, seven, eight trades in a row, I already understand that, yes, that might feel good, but that is just a normal streak and that streak is going to come to an end. So while I have those profits, it's not in and of itself going to cause me to scale up larger. That's why I'm factoring in all the components of the market. When I'm looking at scaling down, I also don't want to scale down just because I've had uh, two or three losses in a row. I'm going to look at my last 10 trades. And over my last 10 trades, what's my batting average? Is it 40%? Is it 50%? Is it 60%? Is it 30%? Once I fall below 40%, that's when I'm scaling back. Oftentimes, it doesn't come to that. Oftentimes, it's more of the market dictating uh, how much I'm scaling in or scaling out. And part of the reason for that is by looking at the market in three dimensions, by looking at general market. So that's the major indices and the major indices across time frames. Then taking a look at my system, and the system is uh, the setups that I'm interested in. So starting from that eagle criteria that we gave at the beginning, then filtering the market down into that produces me with X number of stocks. Then going through those and looking for the types of setups that I'm interested in, that's going to give me a gauge on the market. And finally, the last piece of it is my personal performance because I should only be taking the trades that are of the highest quality. If those three are moving together, then I'm scaling up. If those three aren't scaling together, then I'm scaling back down. And yes, if I'm hitting a 5% portfolio risk, like if I have a drawdown of 5%, I'm you can bet your ass that I'm scaling down long before that happens. Um, if I if I had 5 trades on, let's say I take 5 trades, it's an average condition, right? Let's say that I get all 5 trades on, I risk 1% on each of them, and all 5 uh, immediately collapse. That would be like the Black Swan event. That's like the 1 in 1,000 shot of that happening. But I'm also aware that every once in a while you will see a black swan. So I am prepared for that. And that's why if my portfolio drops 5%, then I'm drastically reducing, and my position size on anything else becomes extremely small. And the reason for 5% is because it's very easy to make 5% back. Whereas if you have a drawdown of uh, 10, 20, 30%, the bigger the loss against you, the harder it is to come back from it. Very good question. Any other questions? Give you one more moment to get questions in. The next time we do this show, we're going to do it on Friday. The next show is going to be planned on Friday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. I don't know the topic of it yet, but I will have the topic posted later in the week. But for right now, mark your calendar, join us live, and I will see you on Friday. Give you one more moment to type in something else. Any other questions or comments? Okay, you're welcome. All right. So I will see you all on Friday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Till then, take care. Much love. Peace out, everybody.